Pardon for the delay. Got a couple agenda items here, votes on Senate Bill 113 and 114, as well as the discussion and vote on Senate Bill 213. So first up is Senator Robertson. Said if you would give us a brief summary of 113, and we'll prepare to take what necessary steps we need to move
Yes,
along.
sir. You comfortable me being here, Mr. Chairman?
That's fine. You'll be on better on TV up there. So
Well,
I like you on TV, baby.
I don't like TV, but I'll do whatever you
You're
do.
good there.
Yeah.
Interest of time.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, this is just basically establishing the municipal corporation for an existing municipality to be incorporated, and basically dealing with the proposed city of Buckhead. And again, this is all we're asking for is equity based on the way this process has been conducted in Georgia from the 1950s on to what we heard about the de-annexation of Eagles Landing and the de-annexation of Villa Rica, Georgia, also back in the 80s. And encourage the committee's support of this legislation.
Is there a motion on Senate Bill 113, and that would be LC 47222 ERS?
So moved.
A motion
To accept.
do pass from my vice chairman. Is there a second? A second from Senator Williams. Said all in favor of Senator Estevez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to add my thoughts here before the vote. I want to start by acknowledging the fact that there are concerns that my constituents in Buckhead and across the city have regarding public safety and services, and that is very real and should be addressed. I think the problem here is that this legislation is not the way to address it. In fact, it would make matters worse, and I just want to take 2 minutes to quickly explain that. First, I want to start with 114, which is the incorporation documents.
We're going to talk about 113.
Oh, 113.
So
that's
let's do one bill at a time.
Stay with 113. Well, the Bill 113 is the most concerning piece of the two bills because of the precedent it sets for de-annexations across the state. It would not only impact the city of Atlanta and Buckhead City, but it would also impact cities across the state and encourage other movements like the ones we're seeing have seen in Atlanta. This bill would require Atlanta to give the new city at least 20% of all of its cash, accounts, and investments. It would also require the city to sell its largest water treatment plant and water and sewer system for $200,000. And I can assure you, senators, that I have paid a lot of money to the water and sewer system in this city, and the Buckhead City community would be getting a deal if they were able to get those facilities for $200,000. And not only that, it would require the city to sell parks and city property for pennies on the dollar. On top of that concerning precedent that it would set for all of us across the state is the fact that it does not deal with revenue bonds. And the city has nearly $3 billion in revenue bonds that are court approved and cannot be broken by this legislature, which means both the city of Buckhead City, and the city of Atlanta would spend millions of dollars in litigation having to deal with the repercussions of Senate Bill 113. On top of that, there's a very high risk that bondholders in New York are going to call the debt, which means the city of Atlanta, our state capital, will be in a financial crisis because of because of this bill and the consequences that come from it. So I want to make sure that we are aware of the precedent that 113 is setting. It's not only bad for the city of Atlanta and the proposed city, but it would be bad for all of our cities across the state, which is why I urge all of us to vote no.
Thank you, Senator. No other discussion, said I'll ask for those in favor to raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, I have my light on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't, it doesn't register up here, I apologize. Didn't recognize that, said, go ahead.
It's on 9. I'm concerned about the issues that were brought to us on last Thursday by Bondman, Mixon, and Elmore, specifically Robbie Ash, and he had concerns about the serious bonded debt concerns, the public school attendance and finances, the regional water and sewer problems, transportation improvements, and one of the last words that was stated that those interested parties would get together and try to work these things out, and I'm wondering, did those things happen? Along with members of this committee?
To my knowledge, not.
Well, it seemed to me that with the issues that are before us and before this new Buckhead City, that those kinds of things would be worked out, instead of us moving forward with a piece of legislation that doesn't do justice for the city of Atlanta, for the city of Buckhead, without going back to the table and having more conversations, doing more compromise, until we can bring people at least halfway to a resolution. And so for that reason, I motion to table this bill.
Second.
There's a motion to table, and a motion has been seconded. Said all in favor of tabling, please raise your hand. I see 3, 4. Please, those that oppose the tabling. 3 to 4. Said the motion fails. All in favor of passing LC 47222 ERS, please raise your hand. Have 4 in favor, opposed. Have 3 opposed. Said the motion carries. Said Senate Bill 113 has passed and be reported out of committee today. The next item on the agenda is Senate Bill 114. Senator Robertson, you're back up again. You still want to take the podium? We'd be glad to get you on TV.
No, sir, I think they can catch me from here. I want to echo the minority leader's words. If the interested parties would have gotten down and sat down with each other and worked out these issues starting back in the last administration and the current administration, I think there's a serious possibility that we would not be here today and we would not be voting on this legislation. I'm afraid, my colleague who was not here several years ago that I wish would have been here, maybe he would have been able to get those interested parties to sit down and talk about that. And I'm a little disheartened when I hear that we may pass legislation that will encourage movements, encourage citizens to stand up for themselves, encourage those who feel they're being disenfranchised and ignored by local legislators to go out there and have to stand up for themselves and fight for whatever they believe is right. And I think whatever they believe is right has the DNA of their particular community as what they feel should be done by their elected officials. Too many times inside this building and especially outside this building, local communities, elected officials forget who they work for. So when movements happen that remind elected officials who the real bosses are, then I have to support that. But I do agree with the minority leader that these interested parties should have sat down and had these conversations. And when I asked about that 3 different times, I never got an affirmative action from the executive branch. And so, therefore, I would encourage the members of this committee to please support a do pass motion on SB 114.
That would be LC 472223 ERS. Madam Leader.
I'm further disappointed that a member that does not represent this district should not have interest in Buckhead, live someplace else totally different, would have so much interest in moving a city forward without having that hands-on interest. It was sometime in the past when someone tried to do something in my district that did not live in my district, and it was found that they could not make changes in a district that they did not represent. And so I'm obviously going to vote against this legislation.
Thank you, Madam Leader. Senator Estevez, you had a...
Yeah, I appreciate the Majority Whip's comments. I would respectfully submit that the people in my community have spoken when they elected me. That's exactly why I'm here. And when you look at the numbers in this proposed annexed area, you'll see that aside from U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, I was one of the top vote getters, more than Governor Kemp, more than Lieutenant Governor Duncan, more than any other Republican that was on the ballot during that election. So the people have spoken, which is why I'm here speaking to you and to my colleagues. What is happening today is that my constituents are being forced to eat a half-baked pie. We talk about the plans that have been in place and years of planning in the making, but it is clear that the proponents of this bill have no plan for the debt obligations that currently exist with the City of Atlanta. They have no plan for the 8,000 children that are in Atlanta public schools in the North Atlanta cluster, 5,000 of whom would be in limbo because this bill, according to our own attorneys, does not address Atlanta public schools. So the fact that we are forcing upon my constituents who duly elected me just a few months ago to represent their concerns is a problem and something that we should be concerned about, regardless of whether you represent Buckhead or if you represent anywhere else in the state. This should not be happening where the voices of a few are overshadowing the will of many. So with that, I encourage my colleagues to listen to our lawyers, both inside the Capitol and those who represent others outside the Capitol, that there are problems with this bill. There's a reason that it is 2223 ERS. It's an external document, language that was brought from outside the Capitol. There are problems inherent with this bill that we need to address before this moves forward, which is why I ask my colleagues respectfully to vote no, or nay.
Thank you, Senator Estevez. Said the Senate Bill 114 lies before us. Is there a motion on the bill? Move to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please. Which,
Doesn't show.
From the second.
I'm sorry, it doesn't show up here, so just everybody knows, so if you need me, you get eye contact, so.
I did.
I'm with you, Coach, I got you.
All right, put me in the game.
Hey, you're up next.
Just a point of discussion on LC 472223 ERS. I know a lot of conversations have been had about City of Atlanta, where would it be on tax collections, the municipal option sales tax, and I know, Chairman, again, you're particularly familiar with the local option sales tax, and I've not heard anybody talk about engaging with Fulton County, because for any new city created, it would come from their portion of the lost. And I know that they have some significant interest, as I followed loss this past year, looking at what they were going to do and build with their revenue projections, which I'm sure they're going to have some revenue bonds on these lost revenues that they hope to collect to build infrastructure throughout Fulton County. And a new city would impact that, because the new city of Buckhead would have to come from a share of their loss for any new city created. Comes from the county's portion. And not only will the city of Atlanta be impacted, but will also impact Fulton County. And so I think we should have a hard look at all the people at the table who are going to have to foot the bill for this thing. And when we think about legislation and we think about a bill like this, as I have said in the Capitol many times, I'm not from Atlanta. I'm from Savannah. I'm down I-16. But coming down I-16, I represent 4 other municipalities. And if somebody had an issue in one of my largest cities, which is the city of Savannah, and they said, well, we're going to start a city, I wonder the implications of those who start the city and those who leave from the city, and where would that put them on tax collections and different things, and do we have to come back and fix a mess that we maybe didn't have to create? And so it's easy to look at this and say we're going to solve all of the problems, but I assure my colleagues, crime won't be solved tomorrow. The issues that have been raised about Buckhead won't be solved tomorrow. In fact, they're going to take some time, because when you start a new city, you're going to have to get it off the ground and get its sea legs and get it standing up. And what are you going to do in the meantime? So it's not going to just change overnight. So I urge you to vote no on this, and I will tell you this. An ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, and I assure you of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Estevez, we need to make it quick. I've got another bill we got to get through.
I know you'll deal with this quickly. I'd like to make a motion to amend to allow all eligible voters in the city of Atlanta to vote on this referendum, given the nature of the financial impact that it would have on the entire city, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, which is quite honestly, we got a motion on the floor that this one doesn't. No, I'm not going to hear that motion. I'm sorry. I can't hear that motion. I've already got a motion and second on the floor. So we're going to vote on LC 2223 ERS. So all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4 in favor, opposed, 3 opposed. So the motion carries. Thank you. I just followed some guy named Robert came up with some rules that we need to follow. I don't know. Maybe his name was Randy. Up next, Senator Burns. I'm glad that you're up here in front of our podium with us today. And
well, it was
now, Senator Burns, I read through your legislation, or proposed legislation, said that you'd like, and I kind of like the idea, but there's one thing that I noticed that before we get started, I was going to ask you if you wanted to commit a substitute to us. Said on line 31, and I'll ask all of our members to pull out LC 540198 and look on line 31. And I'm going to take my little blue pen and I'm going to strike through 24 and I'm going to put 12. And I'm going to ask if the sponsor would commit that as a substitute for his legislation.
I have no objection to your recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
So we're going to call this LC 540198S. Thank you. I'm glad I heard from my attorneys over here that can back my play.
Thank you.
So tell us about the bill there, Senator.
Thank you for the committee's time. I'll be brief. This is a fundamental property rights issue. It's a fundamental individual property issue where you have an existing manufactured home. Currently, the landowner, the property owner, can improve it, fix the roof, repair the air conditioning, but they cannot replace it because of the issue of non-conforming use. Now, that home became non-conforming through no fault of the homeowner. So what this bill would allow is for an existing property owner to replace an existing manufactured home with a new home, and per the chairman's recommendation, within 12 months. so that they can improve the quality of their environment. They can maintain an environment that improves the community, and at the end of the day, it's a more affordable option. I think the thing that we have to look at, this bill addresses three issues. It protects individual property rights, it increases the quality of the home and the property itself, and it supports affordable housing throughout Georgia. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take questions, but that's the essence of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Said it's 8:57. I hope there aren't a lot of questions. Said one of the things that I see where, you saw the destruction last night, said on the storms that went through, and people's homes, stick-built or mobile homes, were destroyed. And for me, this just allows somebody to put back a home and to replace that one. Said
To replace that home with a new home that is built to higher standards and has a higher quality. It will improve the quality of the environment, but it will also allow that homeowner to have a investment moving forward that improves their communities.
Thank you, Senator. Said I believe our whip has a question.
Brief comment and motion do pass. I think this is a great piece of legislation, especially when we're talking about affordable housing, and I want to thank the senator for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Senator. I
When ready,
appreciate
Mr.
the
Chair.
Believe Senator Mello has a question.
Question?
I waive.
He waves. Okay. Everybody else going to wait? Oh, Senator, any other questions for the fine Senator Burns? Said I'll accept your motion. Said
Motion do pass, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Said did I hear a second from Senator Williams? You want to say that in the microphone? You can.
Second.
There you go. Said there's a motion do pass on LC 540198S. The all in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Senator Steele is not voting or fixing to wait for the other side. All opposed, please raise your hand. Senator Steele is a no vote. Everybody else was affirmative. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.